You remember back in high school, or if you ever joined some sort of like gym or something, and they have you do those wall sits where you have to crouch down and your knees are like in like this situation, and you're just like standing it, or you're just like in that hunched position for a while, and then you're like, this is not that bad, and then 30 seconds kicks in and you're like, and then a minute kicks in and you're like, after a while, your knees just start shaking and you're just like, and you just like want to keep it up because other people are also doing the wall sits with you. And then you're just like, I can't be the first one to crack, but your knees are just like so achy. And you're just like, at that point, you start sweating a little bit and you just get to a certain point where you're like, I physically cannot hold this position anymore. That's where I am in my life right now. I kind of know how I got here, but kind of don't know how I got here, because I recently turned 50, and maybe that has something to do with it. Like, I'm kind of like my whole mental thing. I'm starting to think about how I got here in my life, what I'm doing with the rest of my life, all these things. I think midlife crisis is a real thing. I don't really want to call it a crisis, but at the same time, it is what it is. But I don't know. I've just been really in a contemplative mental state in my life. And I've just been realizing a lot of things. Not realizing. I mean, I guess it is realizing. And as you can tell, this video is just kind of going to be all over the place. And there's a few things that I want to have happen in this video. Number one, I want to talk about my attempt to overcome loneliness, depression, and perfectionism. I guess those are the three things. I think I've really recently been noticing that I'm an internally lonely person. And I never really identified that way because I'm not the kind of person that wants to be a victim or think of myself in a weak way. But if I look at the whole of my life, like my adult life, I've always had that inner loneliness, almost that feeling that can't be quenched by even hanging out with other people or even being in a relationship, even though I loved being in a relationship or being around my friends or family. But there's always this little internal thing. And then over the years, I've struggled up and down with clinical depression and anxiety at times. And on top of that, I'm very hard on myself. And I have like OCD. I'm not saying it like as a joke. Like I literally, even though I haven't been diagnosed, I literally believe I have traits of obsessive compulsive disorder. I constantly feel like I need to improve or do better. And that is a symptom of fear, which this is one of the reasons why I've been hesitating to make this video, is because I literally feel ashamed and upset that I'm allowing myself to be in this place. And at the same time, I do understand that my brain has a brain of its own. My brain has a whole inner working of its own. But I have taken some time to really think like, you got to work through this. Like you can't live the next 50 years, God willing, in this space. And coming out of living in a vehicle, living in a van for the last few years and now being in one spot, I think has given me this time to really think about like not being scrambling and going all the time. I'm just now in a one spot situation where things are hitting me more strongly. And that's kind of why I tell people like being a nomad is amazing and awesome, but it doesn't resolve your life's issues and it doesn't solve things. Like it can teach you a lot about yourself, but at the end of the day, you still have issues and things you need to sort out. And on top of all those things I mentioned earlier, I think another heavy thing that's been coming up for me is the empty nest syndrome, which I don't think I ever really dealt with when my boys moved out, because when they moved out, I immediately started traveling. And from then on, I was just constantly going. And now I'm at this place where I'm like, wow, like, who even am I? Who am I? I'm not their mom anymore in a sense of actively raising them. Like, I'm still their mom, their mother, and they still call me for things and we talk and stuff, but I'm not a full-time mom. I don't engage with them on a daily basis and help teach them things and help them with whatever. And they have their own lives. They're building their own lives, and it's wonderful and magnificent to see that. But it's also like, where do I fit in? I think one of the biggest overarching feelings is that loneliness. And that's why I talk about that a good deal on my live streams, because I'm lonely and almost every person I talk to is lonely. And I just have this inner ache for myself and for other people that are lonely. And I'm just like, we're all lonely. How are we all so lonely? And we're all just not fixing it or helping ourselves or doing anything to change that. And I'm not a person that gives up. I'm not a person that's like, oh, well, but over the past little bit, I've been in that wall sit feeling where I'm just agonizing over, what am I doing? How come I feel this depressed and lonely and sad, even when I'm around other people? So this may be a terrible idea. It wouldn't be the first time I've had a terrible idea, especially on this channel. But one of my friends asked me, because I've been really trying to figure out the direction of the channel, even though like I love talking about Christianity and the Bible and all those things, and I still will do that. She was like, what is the thing that you want to help other people with, or have people come on your journey as they did when you lived in a vehicle? And the thing that keeps coming up for me is loneliness. Like they say, there's a loneliness epidemic or pandemic. It's too much. We were already lonely. Then we had the actual like pandemic lockdown, and it made it a million times worse. And now we don't trust each other. We're more angry. We're more bitter. We don't know how to socialize. We're very self-focused and self-centered. And I don't want to live like that. I don't want to keep going like that. Also, on a little side note, for my perfectionism, and again, I know this is all over the place, but hopefully you're tracking. When I first started living in a car, I literally just was picking up the camera and just sharing my journey with a very whimsical and God-led mentality. And over time, people were like, oh my gosh, your content has really helped me. This video showed me this, and I love your tips and tricks and hacks and all these things. And over time, I felt this almost obligation put on myself, this obligation to be a teacher for other nomads, or make this a business, or like do more, be more, provide more value, do all the things. And somehow I was like, in my head, somehow I mentally thought like, oh, you're National Geographic with these videos, and you gotta, film all the things, and you gotta do all the things and edit it like it's, a full-length feature film. And even not consciously believing that, but just when I'd edit, I would just keep starting from the beginning and edit all the way through, and then go back and be like, okay, I could make it better, and just do it again, and just go back. And it's exhausting. And I did it to myself. And then with all the comments coming through and things I just never really thought of in terms of a community, and I have received all the love and support and everything, but also there's been some very harsh negativity and things that just stick with you. It doesn't matter how strong of a person you are, like things get into your brain and you're just like, wow. And you start to believe some of the lies. And so I'm going to do my very absolute super best to do an experiment with not editing my videos, or just like a very light edit, and I'm just like, I got to do some teeny bit, but just not sitting there overly analyzing the edits. These videos come and go like quick, posting videos on YouTube is not like you do it once a year and you put all this meticulous work into it, and then, you post it, and then you wait for, all the feedback. It's like every week you're posting. For me, I usually post 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and then shorts and all these things. It's really not that serious, and I've made it that serious. Nobody's ever really been like, oh, how dare you didn't add more music there? How dare you didn't edit this even better? I mean, I've had some creeps that have said little things, but the collective of all things, no one's checking for my videos that strongly. No one's analyzing it like I am. So from now on, I'm kind of putting myself in this exposure therapy or immersive therapy, where I'm forcing myself to not go down the perfectionist road, to not go down the overly edited mode, to just be myself, come back to me as a regular person that's just putting videos on the internet. And if it helps somebody, great. Which leads me to my last point, I guess. As I mentioned, this might be a bad idea for my mental health, filming this, but I want to share my journey of overcoming these things, because as a Christian, I feel that we're called to help other people. And for me, I would feel like even though I'm taking care of myself, but like, I don't even want to say prideful, but I feel that in the sharing of what I'm doing, it could also help other people. So for the next little bit, who knows how long, I don't know, because loneliness, depression, perfectionism, these aren't all things that you can just be like, do this, this, and this, and you will be healed. I believe in God and the power of healing and all these things, but I also think that we should take action to help ourselves. So for the next however long, I'm going to be filming myself going through this journey and sharing what I'm doing, what I'm going to, try some different supplements. I'm going to try some different therapies. I'm going to try some new hobbies. I'm going to try some new activities. I'm going to get help where I can. I'm going to get out more and share some of my experiences, adventures, journeys. And I don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work, but I'm going to share it along the way. And hopefully you can get benefit out of it too if you're feeling lonely, and we can do it together. I'm putting together like a Google Doc or a PDF of just some of the things that I'm going to try, and I'll keep updating it. So if you want to follow along on that, I don't have it finished yet, but you can go to my website, AllisonSharpe.com. I'll put the link in the description, and you can just sign up for my mailing list. And before anyone gets all in a twist, I've never sent out an email to date, so I'm not spamming anybody. This will be the first time that I actually going to email my list. And after I do get it done, when you sign up for the mailing list, it'll just automatically probably send it to you. I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to keep it simple. I pray that this journey will be beneficial for myself, but will mostly bring others that are lonely together. That's my prayer and hope, is that we have less tragedies, less sadnesses, less grief and depression, the more we put ourselves out there to encourage and love each other. And the Bible is very clear. It says, love one another as I have loved you. And Jesus loved us so much that he died for us. And so that's my hope and prayer. One final thing is that I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me or think that I'm putting out a video like, watch me be sad and lonely. Like literally I'm in a depressed state. Like I was in the worst mental, I don't know what, like just turning on this camera. It's like the worst creative writer's block, video block, whatever block you want to call it. The worst I've ever felt in my life. Is just like, I literally was almost like someone was like holding my hand, not being able to press play. I just hit record, prayed, and then just started talking. So some of this might not even make sense. I didn't script anything out. I didn't write anything down. This is just my real feelings and my real thoughts. I want to get back to who I am, and I want to feel better, and I want others to feel better, and I have a heart for people. And so that's basically what I'm doing. So I pray that this is helpful to you, and I'll just keep sharing what I'm doing along the way. I love you, and if somebody hasn't told you, you are valuable and you are loved. Bye for now.
Snack time.